Hi guys, Rich from Trackspark here. Hope everybody's well and had a great September. We're into October now, which is scary. Halloween, then bonfire night, and then Christmas. Time is flying. Yeah, scary stuff. But anyway, on to the tutorial. We should have some really cool stuff again in this month's pack. But this month's quick tutorial is named Fake or Real. And what I mean by that is, what's better? Fake synthetic sounds or real instruments? And I guess really the answer to that question could rely on obviously what you're trying to achieve. So, I mean, if you're doing a full-on electronic dubstep tune or an EDM track, then you're going to be using predominantly synthetic or fake sounds, as I call them, as opposed to if you're trying to create an acoustic tune or a rock tune, which is all about obviously real or live instruments. If you're using fake instruments in that realm, then your track's probably not going to sound the best. But it doesn't mean to say that in your in your EDM tune, in your dance tune, that using real sort of instruments or samples of live instruments that won't add to your mix, and vice versa. Using a synth bass maybe in your rock tune, that might add something. But so what I've done here is I've taken a tune which sort of incorporates both, and then I'm going to play you the real elements, the live elements, and play it you without them in the mix, so we can see how that they've added to the tune. So this tune sort of was written for sync. It was like adverts, so it's quite punchy and upbeat, and it contains a horn riff. Yeah, without further ado, I'll play you a bit of the tune, and then I'll go through what I've added to it, and so you can see the difference between where it was and where it is now. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there we go. It's quite sort of, like I say, upbeat, punchy, in your face, with that sort of trombone riff. Now, obviously, because that trombone thing is the main sort of focal point in that section, anyway, then using anything but a real one for me wasn't an option. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mute out all the real stuff. There's some other things up here, so there's some percussion that I've put in and a couple of live drum loops, and I'm just going to play you the same section, and then yeah, see what you think. Sorry guys, I should just turn up. I'm just trying to find the trombones on my mixer. Oh, they're here. I'll show you here. Okay, so these are the sampled or fake trombones that I've used. So I'm just going to turn those up in the mix. Okay, done that. Okay, so we can hear there that the drums are still pretty punchy, but there's something completely lacking for me that it's dropped out. You might not notice before you've put the extra stuff in, but as soon as you've put it in and then taken it out, there's a big hole. And I knew that that would be the case, which is why I put the live percussion in and the live drum loops, etc. And obviously, the trombone. So it's literally just one trombone layered up over those. I think it's a Kontakt sample library. So fake trombones, which sound pretty good. There's a bit of delay on there and chorus, but I've pulled them down in the mix and then sat the real one on top. So I'll just put the real one back in again. Now out. Sorry, just muted the wrong one. Mute. So you can hear there, even after I'd sort of turned it up, that it just doesn't sound as good. It just doesn't sound right. And it just doesn't work without the real thing. So in that instance, real trombone, if it's the main focal point, then real wins for me. Okay, so let's go up here, and then let's look here. Okay, let's go to this. If we listen to this, if I just mute out all of the trombones, so the real ones and the fake ones, and we can just listen to the sort of beats and percussion, we can hear there's a cowbell in there, which is obviously just a sample that I've got from one of my drum samplers. Now I have put in, it sounds okay, but what I've done is I've taken some sort of a metal percussion that I've got and literally just layered it up. So let's listen to the there. So, you know, nothing special. It's just real sort of percussion tapped on the metal edge of a drum, I think, with a metal drum key even. So not even a real anything. It was just a metal sound that I found and tapped in. Now, because it's got sort of different, a different type, I've EQ'd all the low end out, so it's just the top ends come in, and I've panned them left and right. I've got two recordings here, left and right, and because of the difference in tone, and it's the sort of imperfections in rhythm, and it changes every time in terms of velocity, etc. It's just adding to the cowbell in there, and creating a wider stereo space as well, and it just adds an extra layer of naturalness, I guess. Newton. Put back in. It just brings it out more, which works again for me. So it's only a subtle thing. I've got the fake thing in the background and layered it up with a couple of real hits. And then again, in the drums, we can hear there's a punchy clap, a clap on every beat here. Now, I was going to layer up with some real claps, but what I did instead was get a bunch of percussion stuff first. So again, random things. I've got here guitar box 1, guitar box 2, and I literally turned an acoustic guitar around and smacked the back end of it. And then here, a banjo. I'm smacking a banjo. There's sort of the bit that looks a bit like a tambourine on the banjo. I'm doing that twice. And then the same thing again with a stick on the edge. And then I've just layered them up and panned them. So, you know, again, nothing majorly special, but once we put them in the mix, again, it adds a nice sort of stereo panning effect. But just again, the imperfections of the rhythm and the tone and the velocity, etc., just really sort of brings that percussion out more and gives the mix a better feel. I'm going to mute them. Back in. So it adds an extra element, an extra dynamic to your mix there. So you can see how that's worked. Again, you know, these things all work on any sort of tune, in my opinion. You know, just little subtle differences, subtle additions can really make the difference. Now here, another point I wanted to make was it doesn't have to be real. It doesn't, you know, I've got somebody in to play the trombone. I bashed these percussion hits out myself. It doesn't have to be that. You know, we at Trackspark provide you with sort of real instruments. We've given you real guitars. We've given you real drum loops. We've given you real vocals, etc., etc. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a real sample of some, you know, a sample or a recording of a live instrument that'll work just as well. And I've used some of the drum loops that we've given in past Trackspark packs here. So I've got a Motown loop from a few months ago. Let's just listen to the actual loop. Now you can hear I've done a few things to it. I've EQ'd the bottom out and I've taken it up. I've really punched it up at 2K just to bring it out. But I've crunched it up, and I really like crunching drum loops up because when they've been through that, when they've been through like an amp simulator or distortion, it just gives the rest of the drums more body or more tone or more punch. So if I play you it and then take it out. Can instantly hear what it's doing. Similarly, if I take this defacer off, we can see what the defacer and what the crunch is doing. So, you know, on its own, it might sound way too much, but to me in the mix, it doesn't sound too bad. That's without the defacer. It just helps it come through again. You saw when I unmuted the defacer that when I enabled it, sorry, the defacer, that it really punched through better. Similarly here, we've got another drum loop in this next section, a drum and bass one, and I think I've done exactly the same thing to it. So I've got defacer and I've EQ'd it, punched it up at 2K because that's where it was missing. That's where I wanted it to cut through. I've got this transient on and brought back the sustain because it was just ringing out too much. That's all I've done there, so nothing mega, but let's run to it. Let me take it out. When I put it back in, loads better. So there you go. In this instance, and I think in most instances, the addition of real elements or real instruments will give your mix that extra sort of extra dimension and really bring it forward. So yeah, so there you go. Try adding, you know, a real instrument, just and layering them up as I have done, and yeah, like I say, it will really sort of add, it'll raise your mix. So yeah, there you go, guys. Hope that was useful, and enjoy this month's goodie bag, and I will speak to you next month in November. Cheers.